Dear friends, good morning. At the outset, first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Professor Hariom Vats for inviting me to give a talk on a very concerning topic, and not only for me or for you, but this is a concerning topic, concerning subject for all the human society on the earth. And this is related to the environmental degradation. आज की वर्तमान परिस्थिति में पर्यावरण का क्षरण जो हो रहा है, डिग्रेडेशन हो रहा है, and what is the cause behind it, whether it is nature or we human people, our society is responsible for that. That is what I am going to discuss. You all are aware with the various kinds of gray areas around us on today. For example, the pollution, the global warming, climate change, many other areas. Oceans are behaving in a very different way. Floods, droughts, etc. Now, this concerning question is a major area on today, that all such concerning questions, issues, and as a result of this concerning areas, there are various kinds of conflicts are there in the world. Say, for example, poverty, socio-economic imbalance, and there are many such areas. For example, even the unemployment also. So all these are caused by simply in one sentence we can say, and that is because of environmental degradation. But always the bottleneck question, who is responsible? Whether nature is responsible or we ourselves are responsible. Since that we have been talking in last few years to go to the moon, to go to the Mars, in the space. Okay, all these things are very good. And in last 100 years, the science and technology has done a significant development. But as a result of that development of science and technology, the human society started to take advantage of that in a very selfish way, and that made the human society, human beings, the egoistic, pride, and even all the lust of the food, lust of eating, killing the people, killing the animals, all those kinds of activities. And when I talk about the animals or even the microbes, why there is a necessity to kill them? Because each and every life in this universe in general, and particularly on the earth, has its own role, and that is what we call as a biodiversity. So we all are in fact interdependent to each other. But this simple statement, simple argument, the human society, we people are not able to understand. First of all, let me explain when I say environment. What do I mean by the environment on the earth? You see, the environment is composed of the 5 important components. That is the Akash, that is cosmosphere. Cosmos is the most important component of the environment. Then Agni means sun, heliosphere. Our own earth, geosphere. Then hydrosphere, water, atmosphere. And all these 5 components comprised of the life everywhere. The life may be of 1 sense, life may be of 5 sense, but life is everywhere. And it is our duty to protect each of this life, because each of this life make a carbon cycle on this earth, which maintains not only the biodiversity, but it maintains the climate, it maintains the whole natural process. While on the other hand, because of our anthropogenic activity, our human activities, we have created the many degradation in the environment. For example, the biodiversity loss, etc. I'm going to talk on these issues. First, let me explain what is the history of the earth, whether this climate, what we are talking today, the climate is changing only very recently or in a gross way. In a gross way, the climate was changing even since the birth of the earth itself. You can see in this picture, at the center of the sun of this elliptical path, the earth actually rotates at its own axis as well as it revolves around the earth. The revolution is about in 365 days and its rotation is around in 24 hours. But during this journey, the earth undergoes to various other kinds of motions, and that is what one we call as a tilt. That is, the earth is actually inclined at its ecliptic from something like 21.5 to, and it changes the angle from 21.5 to 24.5. And this takes place, that is from 21.5 to 24.5, and then return back in about 41,000 of years. So this is one cycle. In addition to that 1 year, okay, then the next another is the precession. The earth actually, while during its rotation as well as revolution, it makes kind of a oscillation at its top, like a pivot. It wobbles, and that wobbling period is also something like between 18 and 24,000 years. In addition to these two important motions, that is of the tilt, and the second is the precession, the revolution which I told, that 365 days, that also changes, and that change is because of the change in the eccentricity. That ellipse which is made in its orbit, that also changes. And that period of changing of eccentricity of that ellipse is of 100,000 years, that is 1 lakh years. So in gross, I can say that these three are the major periods: 1 lakh year, then around 21,000 years, and 41,000 years of the major changes on the earth, and thereby changes in the climate cycle. We can see in this picture that this picture is actually real observations, and the observations made by bringing a sample from the Antarctica, almost of 1 meter in size, and then it was processed, and then when it was cut and brought, it was uncontaminated, so there no question of any kind of contamination or data contamination. Then the radioactive processes were conducted, carbon dating and oxygen dating, etc. And from that analysis in the laboratory, the temperatures were derived for almost more than 8 lakhs of years. Here in this plot, I'm showing of about 450,000, that is 4.5 lakhs of years. The blue color which you see line is the temperature variation in this 4.5 lakhs of years. If you see from the right side to the left side, then you can see this temperature variation shows unambiguously clearly the peaks at every interval of 100,000 years. So at every 1 lakh of years, temperature increased, and similarly at every 1 lakh year, you can see the temperature minimum was there. That minimum period is known as large glacier maximum LGM. The last glacier maximum you can see on the left side, almost about 25,000 years back only. So we all are actually very new people on this earth. I would like to say, dear friends, that whenever the temperature comes almost at near to large glacier maximum or during the large glacier maximum, which is of the period of about the few tens of thousands of years, it comes almost to -8 from the normal temperature. That's why in the legend we have shown the delta T. Delta T means the temperature below the normal or above the normal. So it varies from minus almost 8 to plus 4 degree or something. The normal temperature, what we talk, is about of 15 degree as of now. You can see the excursions, not only of that 100,000 of year, that 1 lakh year, but in addition to that, the many other excursions in the blue plot, of which I told 41,000 years and 21,000. There are small also excursions are there in the plot, which are related to the sun, that 11 years sunspot cycle, which I will talk in this today's presentation, and 22-year periodicity cycle. In addition to that, there are slightly more larger another perturbations are there, which Earth faces during the some kind of a long eclipse area, periods, etc. The question arises that if Earth faces such great, the ice period for hundreds to thousands of years, then how the Earth again will become warmer and how the temperature will go up. You know that the Earth below this surface, that is near the core to up to few thousand kilometers, it's very hot. And beneath the surface, that is inside, above the core, the tectonic plates actually are keep on moving. And when this temperature gradient on the surface takes place, that is, surface is closed or covered of few tens of meters by ice, but the Earth inside it is very hot. So that you can imagine the temperature gradient of tens of degrees per almost kilometer or so. So as a result of that, the wave which will insert inside of temperature gradient and the pressure change will cause the loss in the friction, which friction that stops earthquake and volcanoes, but frictions are lost. And then as a result of that, the volcanoes are erupted. Once the volcanoes are erupted, then the volcanoes bring the carbon dioxide from inside. And so this green color, what you see, is nothing, that plot is of carbon dioxide. Similarly, once they erupt, then the dust, which was at the peak time, that deposits back on the Earth's surface. In this 450,000 years, what we call in science as a Paleolithic era, that is Stone Age, Old Stone Age, when the people were not much civilized. People started the civilization, something like that in 12,000 years. But it does not mean that the people were not there earlier. There were people. And you can see I have designated some names which history endorses with clear-cut evidences that around 3.5 or 4 lakhs of years Mahabal was there. then Rishabh Dev around 1,40,000 years. What we call about the from 10,000 years when people started to be civilized with domestication of the woman, domestication of animals, and civilized some kind of a technologies invented like a fire, etc. This is almost 7,000 to 8,000 years before now. The Prabhu Ram actually born and the Krishna was born around 4,500 years. And we know that Mahavir and Gautam Buddha around 2005 years, 100 backs. You all will be surprised, but however, to learn that Earth almost 850 to 630 million years before present. So almost you can say that 85 crores of years to 65 crores of years, that much in between period of that is 850 to 630 million years, that in between that period, ice was covered, you see, by the ice age period for a long, long time. And almost you can say all the life, all the kinds of microbes to creatures, species, they were actually living under this surface where the enough significant or suitable temperature was there. And after only 450 years, 450,000 years, and almost you can say 5.5 million of years when the first human born, before that 65 million years, the dinosaurs were there. So you all may like to learn the history of the earth, that earth has faced even the 5 extinctions. Earth is, if we keep on doing such kind of a nuisance anthropogenic activities, then the time is not very far at the 6th extinction of human society. So we all have to be careful that to maintain, to protect our environment, to protect the biodiversity. You can see that in the last few tens of years, we have been facing the major question, which you all know now, that of the major question is of the natural disaster. And these natural disasters are in various forms, including the floods, droughts, earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, landslide, even the snowfalls, hailstorms, all this in various parts of the earth. It is not necessary that everything is taking place or occurring only in India, but India is not very far from these natural disasters. We are also having large number of different kinds of disasters. What I wish to say that if you go back from today, almost 70 to 80 years back, say around 1950 or 1960, you see, we never heard much of this kind of natural disaster. But after 1970 or so, the number of natural disasters, that is density of total number of natural disasters, is keep on increasing. And in last 50, 60 years, we have seen that it is exponentially. Now, so this is a most concerning area. After all, why it is happening? Because in 50, 60 years, I have shown you just a few seconds before that the earth does not have that kind of a cycle. Earth does not have that kind of a cycle of 50 to 60 years, except the sunspot cycle or the galactic cosmic rays. That such kind of natural disasters will increase exponentially. So we have to address this important question. After all, what is the cause behind this? Are we doing something wrong with our earth? Why we are doing, so much nuisance to Mother Earth? So this is the question. The one is, the people told that yes, this might be possible because of the increase in the population density. People are increasing, like in China, India, Africa, and many countries. So whether it is because of, and if you see it on the graph, then this increase exponential in population is also almost in last 50 to 60 years. Currently, the population is about 800 billion. So it is really a matter of concern. But it is only that because of the people have increased, or it is because the people are doing a wrong activities to the mother earth, to its diversity, biodiversity, or to the environment. I have just analyzed very recently the very important question. The biodiversity is really very important because we all are interdependent on each other. If you see in this plot, as a function of time, in the y-axis I have shown the meat production. That is meat production by killing the cows, by killing the buffaloes, by killing the goats, sheep, even the aquatica, fishes, etc., and all that in millions of tons. And if you see as a function of per year, increase in different continents on this earth, Asia, Europe, North America, South America, Oceania, etc. In each and every continent, the meat production is keep on increasing. And even after 1970, if you see, it is increasing also exponentially. Just for the analysis and to understand what kind of anthropogenic activities human being is being done, they are done by the we people, human society, which might be responsible for such natural disaster. So in the yellow boxes, in every 10 years, that is in every decade, what I have shown, the first is the number of earthquakes more than on the Richter scale 5, then oblique, this volcanoes, oblique, the tsunami. Say for example, in 1961 to 1970, I have shown that number of earthquakes more than on the Richter scale 5 took place in number 40. Volcanoes, that is above the explosive index of 3, number 6, and tsunamis with the wave intensity and the height more than 10 meters, they were 4. Similarly, in the next decade, the number of earthquakes was increased significantly. From 42, it was 42, volcanoes 5, and the tsunami 5. But as we go on time, you can see that between 2000 and 2010, the number of earthquakes increased by 1 order of magnitude. You see, there were 341, volcanoes 11, and tsunamis were 34. See, because is it because of the production increased in the meat? And even in the last decade, from 2010 to 2017 only, that is in 7 years only, the number of earthquakes increased very significantly. 401 earthquakes, 19 volcanoes, and 71 tsunamis. So can we not interpret that number of increase in natural disaster is because of the increase in the meat production, killing the animals, killing the life, and so man has become actually some kind of a luxurious in lifestyle. It has, some kind of a lust of eating the non-vegetarian food. This is all because we are killing, and this is all we are killing the big animals. That is what I told. You can imagine that by our various other activities, how many number of microbes we might have been killing every day, every second. And this is what the Himsa, violence activity, perhaps I would like to interpret that because of the violence activity, this earth is facing now trouble. Our biodiversity loss is because of this violence. Similarly, environmental whole degradation, right from the cosmos to the earth, and all components have been disturbed by it. It is not that violence and on this earth, non-violence has not been talked. It has been talked by Mahavir, but it is not that Mahavir was the first man who talked about the non-violence, and he taught the ahimsa parmo dharma. But before that also, ahimsa was being talked almost 4,100 years back. But previously it was not only being talked, but it was being followed. But somehow in between the people forgot about the non-violence. And that happened because of their lust of the food, their lust of living, and the ego, pride, all kind of evil activity. So again, this verse related to the importance of non-violence was written after but Mahabharata, when in Mahabharata war, this more than 120 crore people were killed. So you can imagine that when 120 crore people were killed, then how many other animals and microbes might have been killed. This verse has been written in many, books, but I'm taking from its beginning part. The 18 small books were written after Mahabharata. The two books, Anushasanam and Mahaprasthanika, Parv means the Pustika, booklet. And in this already has been reference have been given. So I would like to just read the importance of this non-violence. This ahimsa parmo dharmasya tatha ahimsa parmo dhamma. Religion, supreme religion is non-violent. Supreme power is also non-violent. Violence, himsa, is never a power. It is only always non-violent. Ahimsa parmam danam, ahimsa parmam tapa. Ahimsa parmam yagnasya, ahimsa parmam balam, ahimsa parmam mitram, ahimsa parmam sukham, ahimsa parmam satyam, ahimsa paramam sharutam. Sharutam means teaching, lesson, teacher. So non-violence also acts as a teacher. There is nothing a truth like non-violence. So we all should not only adapt, but we need to practice also non-violence. But when I was talking to United Nations, they told the other way that this is not the correct on today because the people want to eat food. And result, when we observe the result of this violence activities all over the world, you see, this is only 10 years back. In India, we all have witnessed in Uttarakhand, which we call even the Devbhumi. And Devbhumi came under the big trouble when more than 30,000 people were killed actually, 10,000 people among few, our friends also, more than 3 lakhs people were missing, trapped in the whole valleys, etc. over there. We don't know the real figure and data even on today, what happened. But it is told that at a one given time T, 3 activities took place in 2013. That the small minor earthquake took place, the dam also cracked down, number 2, and then the heavy rains came, so the flood was there. So all these 3 activities, flood, that is heavy rains, cracking of the dam, and minor crack, killed thousands of people and took away the life from the Uttarakhand. It is not only that, in just another next 9-10 years, that is last year only and even now also, we are facing in Uttarakhand another problem. You know that all the buildings, and not only buildings, but in the land also slide is there, buildings are cracked, and even the roads are also cracked. Houses almost toppled down. All these things are taking place. So what is the reason in the valleys? Because we called Devbhumi, God exists there, but we started to eating the non-vegetarian food or killing, and deforestation activities started. See, we were doing, all human people are engaged in doing killing the environmental activity, killing our environment, and all that causes the degradation. I just give you a very recent example of the Libya. Just 2 weeks back, that is on 10 September, big floods and continuous for a week, and that took the life of more than 30,000 people, and even now also 300,000, 3 lakhs of children, they are missing, they are affected, and many UNICEF also has, endorsed that yes, the people. Why all such kinds of natural disasters, that is, earthquakes, are taking place all over the world? If you take the everyday newspaper, that you will find in every week somewhere in the world, one or the other kind of natural disaster take place. So, dear friends, we have to be very, very careful about our this human activities, our anthropogenic activities. I will show in my few slides our other activities like deforestation, etc. And you will see that until unless we stop our such kind of a unsocial activities, we stop our this luxurious lifestyle, we stop our food eating styles, etc. We will put the whole environment as well as our earth in trouble.
Even I also have seen. And in just almost the 18 years to 20 years, only in 18 to 20 years, a lot of glaciers which were there in the Alaska, now in this 20 years, many of them, they are receding, that is the melting the glaciers. Means because of human activities, the temperature has gone up. Now, whether I am interpreting because of the human activities, the temperature has gone up, or it is as a, consequence of natural forces, that we have to analyze. I would like to give another example of Brazil. In Brazil, you can see that there were very, huge, intense and dense rainforests were there. Almost in 1975, you can see the satellite image on my left side. And on the right side, in this 2019, starting from 2009 onwards, just in 34 years, because of the large number of increased population, the colonies which were supposed to be developed, so all deforestation took place. And now Brazil is in trouble after this deforestation. Their pollution is there, air pollution is there, then this rains, heavy rains, droughts also sometime. On the other hand, earthquakes are also there. So we can see that these are the consequences of our own activities. Similarly, many of you might have observed, and it is going on all over the world. It is not only in India that we are cutting the trees, that is deforestation, but deforestation is all over the world, particularly even in Africa, which was one of the dense forest areas were there. Now, what will happen because of this? The removing the trees or cutting the trees, it means we are creating a trouble for the birds, other habitats. It is some kind of a shelter of the small lives also. At the same time, because we will cut the trees, the air pollution will increase. And so we have to, stop this thing. What is the major advantage of the trees? Whenever the high speed winds are there, these trees are actually important and they stop the high speed winds and they protect us. They protect us actually by, because large number of trees are there, then there is a regular cycle of oxygen to carbon dioxide. But we have destroyed that cycle also. You can see that this air pollution is large in Afghanistan, Pakistan, even in India, because we are cutting the trees. We hardly have 1.5% forests only left over in India, Nigeria, etc. Why these developed countries like the United States, Japan, Canada, etc., they don't have air pollution issue because they have a large number of forests. They are preserving them. But we, on the other hand, many countries like in Africa and in Asia, we are actually going ahead towards this deforestation. If you ask me that how much this all pollutants they enter into the ocean, that is our hydrosphere is affected. I have already told you many things about the atmospheric hour in the air, but now once the air pollution is there, then from the air pollutants, they are entering into the oceans, 20% almost. Then the farm runoff, almost 20%. Sewage, 30%. So these three issues, three factors, the air pollutants, farm runoff, and sewage, they make the 70% actually pollutants which is entering into the ocean. Of course, there is a, I mean, gas outgassing from transportation, then industry waste, then offshore, the oil, etc., and liter. All these also make 30%, but these three are the major issues. Whether only these are the issues or we human people are doing another many other activities. You see, the whole atmosphere, I should say aviation, we have made industry. The aircrafts, number of aircrafts have increased in last 30 years. And as a result of increase in the number of flights of the aircrafts, the carbon dioxide emission has also increased. And it is not only 1 ton carbon dioxide or 10 tons or 100 tons, it is in millions of tons. Dear friends, please underline, it is in millions of tons, not only by the passenger flights, but also by the commercial flights. And already research has been conducted on this. And this is the big, issue, that the carbon dioxide emission by these aircrafts. And this we can say that the whole atmosphere has become now industry. In addition to this carbon dioxide, the aircrafts, that the fuel which they use, they also they eject outside the strontium and other poisonous and radioactive particles, which actually fall on into the water, into the air, and even our Earth's surface and interact with our body, with the other lives also, which they are being killed by that. So if you see, recently my student Kunal Patel and we have done while studying this oceans all near around the Gujarat, and we wanted to study whether the sea surface level is really increasing as a function of our human activity or by the natural forces. You can see that as a function of time in last 90 from starting from 1960 to 2020, because CO2 data in India, it is not much available before 1960. And you can see that sea surface temperature, SST, is keep on increasing near around all the, this oceans around the Gujarat. And this paper has been published in the Geology, Ecology and Landscape in 2022, last year, which is a good impact factor journal. And this particularly what I'm showing is in the Bay of Cambay, that Khambat ki Khadi, that whole ocean, Indian Ocean. And we have done similarly in Valsad also and the Kutch. So this is an important result, that how with the increase in carbon dioxide, the sea surface temperature is increased. Now, once the sea surface temperature increases, then naturally the lot of erosion will take place. And because as a result of erosion, the sea level will also increase and it will proceed toward the land surface. And we have observed many small villages which were very close to the shore of the oceans in last 50 years. Now they have actually submerged inside. And there was one very big habitation, Chokri village. Now the oceans have come very close to that Chokri village also. It means the sea surface temperature increase and the sea level increase is there. Now we have to analyze. We have to analyze between the two situations, as I started in the beginning of my talk, whether this is because of the anthropogenic activities, that is human activities, or by the natural activities. This increase in the sea surface level is exponentially increasing. And so it is an important how much we are doing, that is through our human activities, and how much the nature is playing the key role. Let me go to the first solar activity. This is some schematic cartoon of the sun, and at the center, many of you, that at the core of the sun, very high temperature of about 15 million degree Kelvin is existing over there, and as a result of such a high temperature, hydrogen, which is the major fuel, major element, is continuously being converted into the helium. So that proton-proton chain reaction takes place over there. And as a result of that fusion, thermonuclear fusion reaction, the temperature over there, that whatever the reactions that participating in that under high temperature, pressure, and density conditions, the resultant of that reaction is the high energy charged particles and the rays which are. So mostly gamma rays, neutrinos are there, they are coming out, and these gamma rays interact with the existing ambient over the material, which is at high temperature, means plasma conditions. Then it actually, during every interaction, it loses its energy. Every gamma ray photon loses its energy, and finally it comes to an energy level of X-ray. Then the extreme ultraviolet, and finally, when it goes almost from the continuously flowing, that flow of that radiative photon, that hole in the atmosphere, that is known as the radiative zone. Once it loses its complete energy as a radiation, then it remains into the form of the heat, and that it flows as a heat, that is known as the convection zone. And after that, wherever the heat stops through our thermodynamic equilibrium process, then it flows up in the form of the bubbles, which we call as the granules, which we can see also in the photosphere of the sun. So this is what some kind of a reaction takes place. Now, as a result of this, that outflow particles out of radiative forces, the gravitational force of the sun, which is holding all the material, there is a balance between that. But so at the photosphere, finally, only the light, actually in the form of the light, it comes outside, and then the temperature is continuously keep on decreasing. So what I want to say, at the core where I told 15 million degree K, it was almost 1 million to 10 million degree K in the radiative zone, but it was in the photosphere only 5,800 degree Kelvin or something like that. But at this photosphere, we can see very unique phenomena of this dark sunspots, what we call as a sunspot. And these sunspots are formed because of this north-south asymmetry in the magnetic field line. So what happens that at this place inside the atmosphere, which I told convection, so at the bottom of the convection, what we call as a tachocline, this continuous motion of the plasma flow is in the period of general standard about 25 to 27 days. But that is not a dynamic rotation of the sun. The dynamic rotation of the sun says that as a function of latitude, the sun basically rotate at differently. So equator, when it rotates in 25 to 27 days, at the high latitudes in north and south, it rotates around 34 to 36 days. So because of change in this or difference in rotation as a function of latitude, whatever the material is there, including this magnetic field, it actually splits up. That poloidal magnetic field lines are basically the twisted, and once they are twisted to too much, then they are cutting out, and that cutting out, that what we call in our language as a toroidal, and the toroidal magnetic field is nothing but the sunspot. So this, if you go further out, then the sunspots also appear not only in the photosphere, but we can see in the hydrogen line in the chromosphere of the another atmosphere of the sun, just about 500 to 2000 kilometers above the photosphere. And then the last atmosphere of the sun, corona, is also there. Now this phenomena, sunspots, actually it varies. And if you can see in this slide on the left side, you can see that large number of sunspots magnetic field, individual magnetic field. Bright is northern polarity, dark is the southern polarity. So it acts actually as a bar magnet. On the right side, the number of sunspots, which all appear whether north polarity or south polarity, they appear as a dark. And why dark? Because the strong magnetic fields stops the heat flow, which is coming from the beneath, that is down from the convection side. And so they appear dark relative to the rest of the photosphere, which is much brighter. So if you ask what will be the temperature of the sunspots, it will be somewhere between 3 to 4,000 degree Kelvin, while in the photosphere, as I told, it is between 5 to 6,000 degree Kelvin. What we have done recently, that for every sunspot active region, we calculated the magnetic complexity index. That magnetic complexity index is actually a sum up of the index of the Macintosh, then the Boulder, and magnetic field strength, which we have measured from the SDO observations. And we found that particularly a critical number of magnetic complexity when the sun reaches or that particular active region reaches to that number, then only the big flares and coronal mass ejections take place. So if we, define the total luminosity, that intensity or radiative flux in the terms of the flare as a function of the magnetic complexity, then it is directly proportional and the correlation factor is almost more than 0.8 or so for a given active region. Now, what do I mean by this flare, etc.? I would like to request you to give attention on this video and see that how this sun, that these are the really in UV observation and changes. All these bright areas are nothing but the sunspot, which you can see on this photosphere as dark sunspot. They are moving from east to west. Here I'm showing the coronal mass ejection, the burst which is coming out. So this, in order to understand this solar flares, coronal mass ejections, etc., as well as there was some kind of a theory which was developed in 1995 to 2000, including me also, that whenever these big explosions take place, that is flares and coronal mass ejections, then in the corona, we can see the iron and nickel line presence. That is the presence of the iron and nickel in addition to various other elements. Many other elements of the lower energy, they were already detected. But the presence of iron and nickel could not have been detected because of the sensors, that is detectors. And so first time in India, that is, I can say that we designed and developed at Physical Research Laboratory in association with the Indian Space Research Organization, a opportunity was given by ISRO to fly an instrument on GSAT-2 in the geosynchronous orbit about 36,000 kilometers above the sea surface. So that instrument, we thought we should try to see this presence of iron and nickel in the corona at the time of the flares and coronal mass ejections, etc. And if we can detect, then it will be a great discovery. ISRO also, in view of that interesting idea, they approved our project and we started to develop the whole payload, employing, but however, two new detectors which were never flown in the space. So it was some kind of a new heritage to start. And It was a challenge to start. So we actually proposed to use the silicon detector and CZT detector. This was the launch of our payload, that is a solar X-ray spectrometer on the GSAT-2 in the 2003, almost 20 years back, and in the 36,000 kilometer geosynchronous orbit. It was launched precisely and perfectly, and it was stationed in the orbit very, very precisely. I'm happy to say, dear friends, that it worked almost for more than 8 years in the orbit. And this is some kind of a plot of as a function of time, the intensity of solar flares which were observed. The different colors, they show the different energy levels of different kinds of flares. When I say different kinds of flares, means different intensity flares. And you can see that the very small micro flare kind of a small intensity flare, as well as the very big X-class flares also were observed by us. And from various observations of solar flares, we could detect as a function of energy, the presence of the iron as well as the nickel line. This bottom plot is the spectrogram, the spectrum of the flare, which we observed from using the silicon detector. And this similar kind of observations we could make also from cadmium zinc telluride detector. So this is the intensity versus energy. And as a result of this new discovery of iron and nickel, of course, this was a renowned that PRL ISRO has discovered the presence of iron and nickel first time in the world. And I was invited to receive fellowship of Royal Astronomical Society in UK, and I was felicitated over there. What I wish to say that there is a big discovery in last 100 years that whenever the sunspots, that 11-year sunspot cycle, that when sunspots are larger in number, at that time, the galactic cosmic rays are at minimum. But whenever the sunspots go at the minimum, then the galactic cosmic rays the flux goes almost 3 to 8 times, or even sometimes 1 order higher. So it means what we can conclude that both are inversely proportional, and whenever this galactic cosmic rays are attacking all the time, but when the sunspots are at maximum, then the total magnetic field of the sun is very strong, and it stops the galactic cosmic rays, and as a result galactic cosmic rays are not able to reach to the Earth's surface. So they are stopped in the heliosphere itself. Okay. But whenever the sunspots are at the minimum time, the total magnetic field in the heliosphere is at the minimum, and galactic cosmic rays are able to reach to the Earth's surface. That's why the cosmic, actually, the neutron monitors, they observe that flux goes up. So this is what the kind of a game between the total solar irradiance versus galactic cosmic ray plays. So whenever the total solar irradiance is higher, at that time, the galactic cosmic rays are at the very low. But when the total solar irradiance goes down, then the galactic cosmic rays goes up, and they are putting their, I mean, pressure, interaction with the soft, magma inside the Earth, inside the atmosphere also. We have heard so far the many new discoveries in last 40 years that the galactic cosmic rays are also responsible for the clouds formation in the Earth's atmosphere. So the whole chemistry of the atmosphere also changes as a result of, at given time, whether total solar irradiance is intensity is higher or the galactic cosmic rays are higher. As a function of total that solar irradiance, I have shown that the sea surface level is keep on increasing in tune with the sunspots. But whenever the sunspots are less, at that time what happens? So we observed, we tried to do, Kronal and Sneha, they have done wonderful job that whenever the sunspots are during minimum time, at that time earthquakes of high magnitudes occur. Means there is some kind of a inversely relation. But this work is not yet completed because we want to do over a large period of time and considering many other factors, etc. But this is a preliminary result, and it says that the all the mostly earthquakes are taking place at the time of the minimum time. You can see similar result in the volcanoes also. The volcanoes, high volcano emissivity or explosive index, they occur at the time when the sunspots are at the minimum period. It means, this gives direct indication to us that at the time of minimum, when the galactic cosmic rays flux is higher, so the earthquake as well as volcanoes and hurricanes, etc., they are the result of galactic cosmic rays. So we have to connect the physics over here, and already some researchers are on the task, and they say that these eddy currents, which are generated in the atmosphere and inside the surface, they are responsible for this. However, we have to understand the physics in a big way. However, recently it has been observed that the solar activity since last three cycles, that is after the cycle 21, 22, and 23, it has been decreasing from 21 itself to 22, then 23, then 24 also. And even in 25, only recently some jump has been observed, but otherwise it was following the prediction. Now the question, if it is so, then what will happen in the future? So what we did, my two students, uh, this Parth Chaudhary in Calcutta, he did employing this geomagnetic index, what we call as a planetary index, AP index, and then predicting the maximum of the cycle 25. And this paper was published 2-3 years back, I think in 21. And he showed that the cycle 25 even will be also a weaker cycle. Similarly, Dipali, Burut, and our whole group, we did by two ways. The one is by the spotless days in the last cycles. In last so many cycles she studied, and we predicted that yes, Partha's results are correct, and we published in another paper that cycle 25 will be a weaker, or it may be incompetent to the cycle 24 only. But recent observations in almost 1.5 years, the sun has given surprise to us. Not only our prediction model, but the more than 200 papers which predicted that this cycle 25 will be weaker. The observations have given a surprise and showed that even the peak of the cycle will be almost 1 year early. It will be 1 year earlier, and the sunspot numbers has gone up. You can see in my left side the large number of sunspots on a given day, and in the right picture plot, the red is the predicted model, and the observed numbers, that monthly observed numbers, they are different than the predicted. So it means it is not necessary that what we are predicting is will be always correct, but we don't know what will happen in the next few months. It may come down and again follow this our prediction model. So, however, the people ask many times, even when I was giving a talk 6 months back in our ISRO, and it was a real big question, and I showed this slide. If you see the temperature of last 4,000 years, that is 2,000 years before AD, and this 2,000 years that is of our AD. So from today, 4,000 years on the x-axis you can see, and this is the uncontaminated data at the Greenland, which was radioisotope, it was conducted and temperatures were reduced for 4,000 years, you will really surprised to know that the temperature, the temperature is continuously decreasing, not increasing. However, in between, intermittently for some period, there is always the temperature goes up for few tens of years. And that tens of years, what we call as a different maxima, just like a modern medieval minima and currently global warming, what we say. But the overall temperature has already gone down in this 4,000 years by 2 to 3 degree. And still the modeling of this temperature of 4,000 years also reveal that it will go further down. It means the whatever that Milankovitch cycle which I showed, the Earth has already started to move to return back to the large glacier maximum cycle site, or it is because of our human activities in last 4,000 years. As I told that the Mahabharat war and before that other war and our world wars and then Kalinga war, because of those the temperature is or whatever that told you and I showed in the today's my presentation a lot of violence all over the world, human to human, human to animals, and lot of non-vegetarian food eating. You will be surprised to know that on this earth 93% people are non-vegetarian people and not millions but in terms of billions tons of chickens are being killed every day, and we are trying to enjoy our lifestyle and the benefits of science and technology. So, instead of controlling our lifestyle and following our rules, regulations of the earth, rules, regulations of the nature, we are also polluting, and that's why we are in trouble. So, in conclusion, I can say that solar activity is continuously reducing since solar cycle 21 through 24 and cycle 25 we exactly don't know, but the temperature is showing the decline nature, and that is a big symptom. It's a big signal to the devastation on this earth and human population, that humanity, our culture is going to be in big trouble because of the environmental degradation. This environmental degradation is a big issue on today, and all nations are concerned, but not to that extent which we should be. Otherwise, I mean, sometimes the total solar irradiance, sometimes galactic cosmic ray irradiance that may kill our large number of, and not only in terms of the environmental degradation, but also the pandemic, which generally keep on increasing in this 21st century. So if we will continue with our lifestyle and killing the animals, I mean, deforestation, killing the nature, then you know that we are actually the children of the monkey. कहते हैं बंदर की औलाद है. But today, these monkeys, they are actually begging to us, please save my child. Means we are not even taking care of the monkeys of which we are the children. But in this 21st century, if we will have, we will continue this kind of creating problems in, and in addition to the natural disasters or natural cycles, natural forces, if we will have our social forces, then there will be a global socio-political issues will increase. Disaster management will become a big failure and it will become a big issue. Then there will be failure of crops and there will be failure of health systems. So with all these words, I say thank you very much for giving kind attention to me. You all are, in fact, you feel that you all are my ambassadors. And please convey my this message to stop this kind of, our human activities which destroy the nature, destroy the earth in general and environment in particular. And please follow our ancient culture system to make the environment as a very good environment for our next generation. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.